Yuta Okkotsu is the guy with the crazy girlfriend. A special grade curse. Yup, that's right, and if you're not a regular manga reader, you still probably know him from the movie Zero. Personally, I wouldn't recommend you getting on the bad side of him or his girl. But if you're his ally, then he will give his all to help and protect you. Why? Well, it's due to his overprotective nature and a sense of responsibility to help those around him. And alongside Yuta, Gojo, Geto, and Yuki are the only special grade sorcerers in the series. So, let's take a closer look into the life of Yuta. Guilt and trauma. So, you're friends with the girl, things are going great, and then she dies. Well, not the best of feelings. Something similar happened to Yuta and it changed his whole dynamic. Yuta and Rika were close friends during their childhood and shared a deep bond that was tragically cut short when Rika died in a car accident. This event occurs before the start of the series and sets the stage for Yuta's psychological struggles. Rika's death is not just a loss of a friend for Yuta, it becomes a source of immense guilt because he believes he is responsible for her death even though it was beyond his control. Well, the blame is probably fueled by believing that the inability to protect her was a failure on his part. Yuta's guilt is further intensified because Rika transforms into a formidable and revenge-seeking spirit linked to him, who's driven by his feelings of guilt and remorse. The curse of Rika, as it is known, serves as a constant reminder of his perceived failure, making it difficult for Yuta to move forward. Rika's death not only made Yuta feel guilty, but also caused him a lot of trauma. He became withdrawn, suffered from low self-esteem, and believed himself to be cursed and a danger to those around him. This trauma further affects his ability to form new relationships and trust others, as he fears that getting close to people might result in them getting hurt. But it is extremely understandable though, as the same feelings can be encountered by people in real life too. In the case of Yuta, who blamed himself for the death of his close friend, modern psychology recognizes that such misplaced guilt can lead to significant psychological distress, and it affects one's self-esteem and sense of self-worth. Not to forget that the death of a close friend under tragic circumstances can lead to PTSD. Isolation and loneliness. With guilt and trauma comes isolation and loneliness. As mentioned earlier about his fear of getting close to people, let's talk about it in more detail. Now, his traumatic past plays a major role in him wanting to be isolated. The presence of a special grade curse within him since the death of Rika also instills in him a sense of fear that he will end up hurting people even if he doesn't want to, mainly because these were powers that Yuta himself could not understand. So, these same thoughts ended up forcing him to isolate himself as a coping mechanism, and without knowing, a vicious cycle of loneliness is started. Because of this, Yuta was unable to connect with people and had lost all confidence in him, as all of these things, when taken into consideration, scream negativity. This made it difficult for Yuta to interact with people, as he used to get scared of them easily, even if they didn't mean to do that or he was just too shy to speak to them. Even though he later started to socialize when he was enrolled in Jujutsu High, it still made him fear the people he could not understand. An example can be taken from the movie Zero, where we see Yuta being scared of Toge, who is literally the nicest guy in the show given that you're his friend. If not, then all he's gotta do is utter a few words and you're done for. Despite this, we see a rather funny sequence when both of them interact. Kind-hearted and compassionate. Despite his inner turmoil, Yuta Okkotsu's kind-heartedness and compassion are fundamental aspects of his character, offering a stark contrast to his struggles with guilt, trauma, isolation, and loneliness. These traits not only define his interactions with others, but also play a significant role in his journey and development throughout the Jujutsu Kaisen series. Now, his ability to empathize with others, even those considered enemies or outsiders, stemmed from his own experiences of pain and loneliness. This empathy motivated him to understand and alleviate the suffering of others. Furthermore, a notable characteristic of Yuta is his willingness to put himself in harm's way to protect or save others. This willingness to sacrifice speaks volumes about his priorities and the depth of his compassion. And beyond physical protection, Yuta often provides emotional support to those around him. He listens, offers words of encouragement, and stands by his friends and allies in their times of need, fostering a nurturing environment. Moreover, Yuta's kindness and compassion becomes bridges that connected him to others and counteracted his feelings of isolation. These traits also attracted people to him and formed the basis for deep and meaningful relationships. Engaging in such acts can be therapeutic, helping to heal one's own psychological wounds. And for Yuta, helping others allows him to work through his guilt and trauma, finding redemption and purpose in his actions. His compassionate nature served as his moral compass, which guided his decisions and actions. Oh, and most importantly, this compassion allowed him to make friends, which boosted Yuta's self-esteem and led him to set a goal to free Rika from her curse. Feeling responsible for her becoming cursed, he dedicated himself to finding a way to aid her. He pushed himself in training and took the advice of his friends and mentors to heart and revealed a more determined side. Fundamentally, Yuta aspires to be a protector and wants to ensure the safety of others. After spending some time away, Yuta returned to Jujutsu High and man, he was not the same. You could see this darker vibe coming from him. Then there's this massive task he got saddled with, hunting down Yuji Itadori, all because the Jujutsu higher-ups said so. You could see it in his eyes. Yuta was way more serious, almost like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. But hey, Yuta was pretending to be like this to keep Yuji safe from some really bad plans made by the top bosses. This smart move showed Yuta's true self, that he's super loyal and does whatever it takes to protect another sorcerer. Even though Yuta and Yuji hadn't met before, Yuta wanted to help because he understood what Yuji was going through. Protective instincts. Previously, we talked about him ensuring the safety of others, but boy, oh boy, did he take things to another level here. In a fight with Suguru Geto, Yuta Okkotsu showed us a side of him full of anger, because he really wanted to make things right for his friends who were hurt. Our boy was so mad that he could use Rika's powers anytime he wanted to, and it showed that he was ready to do anything, even risk his own life, to get back at Geto for his friends. It highlighted the vital role his friends play in his life, providing him with the strength and motivation to persevere. Despite acting tough, deep down we all know Yuta is a really nice guy. He has undergone significant changes, becoming more open and displaying a greater sense of humor than ever before, much to the surprise of even Gojo-sensei. Being back with his friends, Yuta jumped right in to help out. He was ready to help Megumi with the risky task to save his sister from a challenge called the Culling Game. Seeing his friend Maki again made him really happy, and he was worried about her getting hurt too. My man ends up worrying for everyone. Next, when there was a problem getting through Master Tengen's magical barrier, Yuta immediately thought about keeping Megumi's sister safe. He was brave enough to face the Culling Game by himself, and even thought about asking for help from Kinji Hakari. And in the Culling Game, Yuta showed he could be tough when needed, fighting against other sorcerers to collect points and help save Tsumiki. But he also showed he's really kind, looking after civilians who were caught in the middle of the game. He took care of a family, making sure they were safe, and decided to keep everyone else safe as well, instead of moving them into danger. When others were in danger, Yuta didn't think twice about trying to save them. Struggle with power. Throughout his childhood, Yuta had been haunted by Rika. His journey in Jujutsu Kaisen was marked by his ongoing battle with the immense and destructive power he wielded, primarily due to his curse technique and the bond with Rika. This internal struggle was a core theme of his character development as he navigated fear, control, and the path to self-acceptance. Now, when Yuta was first introduced, he appeared overwhelmed and terrified by the power Rika gave him. He couldn't control Rika's actions, leading to unintended destruction and risking the safety of those around him. This fear of hurting others, especially his friends, troubled Yuta deeply and drove much of his early character development. Due to this, Yuta worked super hard to get better at controlling his powers, all thanks to the help of Gojo-sensei. Yuta really wanted to make sure he could use his massive powers without hurting anyone by accident. He spent a lot of time practicing and learning all about curses and how to handle his energy in the best way. Next, he did all sorts of training, like practicing fights, working on how to move his energy around, and even pretending to be in real fights to get better. These exercises were all about helping Yuta use his powers in a smart way, making sure he could protect people without causing any damage around him. And in his confrontation with Suguru Geto, Yuta reached a turning point. Why, you ask? Well, let me explain. He was forced to confront the full extent of his abilities by making a conscious decision to wield his power to protect his friends and the innocent. This battle is significant for Yuta as it marked the moment when he began to accept his power and used it with a clear purpose rather than being consumed by fear of it. Furthermore, Yuta learned a lot from Gojo by finding new and smart ways to fight. He got really good at making sure he could hit the bad guys without messing anything else up. It was amazing to see how much Yuta changed. He went from being scared of his own powers to being a sorcerer who knew exactly how to use them to help and protect others. Sense of responsibility. And again, every aspect of Yuta's life is affected by the presence of Rika one way or another. Yuta's responsibility is significantly tied to Rika Orimoto's transformation into a powerful cursed spirit, which he mistakenly believes he caused. This guilt is the catalyst for much of Yuta's journey, pushing him to seek ways to release Rika from her cursed form and, by extension, free himself from the guilt he carries. Yuta seems like a boyfriend who just can't seem to move on. Alright, guys, don't come at me. I'm just messing around. I haven't moved on either, and mine wasn't even a cursed spirit. Moving on, a pivotal part of Yuta's character development is his dedication to protecting those around him, which is a direct response to his perceived failures. For instance, his determination to become stronger and more in control of his powers under Gojo's mentorship is not just about self-improvement, but also about ensuring he never inadvertently harms others again. This protective instinct is not limited to his friends, but extends to anyone who might be at risk from curses or other sorcerers, which reflects his broader sense of responsibility towards society. For example, at the end of season 2 of JJK, Yuta saved a little girl from a cursed spirit. Yuta's willingness to engage in battles, especially against formidable opponents like Suguru Geto, showcases his commitment to taking responsibility for his powers and the role he plays in the Jujutsu world. Moreover, his journey is marked by his actions aimed at making amends for the past. This includes his efforts to understand more about curses and how to combat them effectively, his readiness to face consequences for his actions, and his proactive steps to help others as a way of atoning for the pain he believes he has caused. Yuta's empathy towards others, particularly those who are cursed or suffering, further illustrates his sense of responsibility. His ability to relate to others' pain, such as Yuji Itadori's predicament with Sukuna, is a direct reflection of his own experiences and the empathy derived from them. Modern psychology states that individuals who experience intense feelings of guilt over past actions may develop a heightened sense of responsibility as a way to prevent future harm or to make amends for their perceived mistakes. This sense of responsibility can manifest as increased altruism, which basically means to have selfless concern for the well-being of another without seeking any personal gain or benefit from it. Desire for normalcy. Now, after going through all this mess, it's pretty obvious anyone would just want a chill, problem-free life. So, despite being endowed with immense cursed power and being bound to Rita, Yuta often finds himself yearning for an ordinary existence that is far removed from the dangers and responsibilities of being a Jujutsu sorcerer. We have seen that from his introduction. Yuta is portrayed as a character burdened by the extraordinary circumstances of his life. His initial inability to control Rika and the unintended consequences of their bond result in his isolation from society. This isolation fuels his desire for a simpler life, one where he can interact with others without fear of causing them harm. Yuta's immense power, while a significant asset in battles against curses, is also a source of personal anguish. He is acutely aware of the potential for destruction his powers hold, which contrasts starkly with his wish for a peaceful and unremarkable life. Quiet moments in the series often reveal Yuta's reflections on his situation and his wishes for the future. Conversations with his classmates at Jujutsu High, particularly with Maki, Toge, and Panda, sometimes touch upon his hopes for a life beyond the constant threat of curses. These interactions offer glimpses into Yuta's internal world and his desire for a life not defined by his curse. Determination and growth. So, like almost every anime character, Yuta got a glow up too. Don't worry, you'll get one too. Anyway, his character evolves from a timid and guilt-ridden individual into a formidable sorcerer, illustrating a transformation shaped by adversity, self-discovery, and the relentless pursuit of overcoming his past trauma. The trauma. No, I am not mentioning it again. But imagine that you lost a friend, and you unintentionally cursed her so badly that she decided to stay with you as a demon. How would you feel? Well, honestly speaking, I wouldn't have really minded if that girl ended up looking like her. Back to Yuta. His journey is as much about battling external threats as it is about confronting and overcoming his internal demons. Through encounters with other sorcerers and spirits, Yuta gains insights into his trauma, allowing him to process his guilt and move towards self-forgiveness. His interactions with his peers at Jujutsu High, such as Maki, Toge, and Panda, play a crucial role in his emotional growth. These relationships challenge him to open up and trust others, reinforcing his determination to grow stronger and more compassionate. As Yuta acknowledges his past and accepts his powers, he demonstrates significant psychological growth. He moves from viewing his curse as a burden to recognizing it as a part of his identity that he can control and use for the greater good. Yuta's growth is further evidenced by his eventual role as a mentor and protector to others. His willingness to guide and support demonstrates his maturity and the extent of his development from a reluctant sorcerer to a confident leader. But wait, let's not forget the moment of freeing Rika, which symbolizes Yuta's liberation from his past guilt and the culmination of his journey towards self-acceptance. It shows his complete transformation, from being at his curse's mercy to totally owning it and finding peace with his past. Sensitivity and vulnerability. Let me ask you, we've all had a time when we were sensitive and vulnerable, right? Yuta did too, and that is what makes him a very relatable character. All of the things he faced in the past made him empathize with the ones going through the same thing. Furthermore, Yuta's relationships with his classmates at Jujutsu High are pivotal to his emotional development. These friendships allow him to open up and share his vulnerabilities, which is particularly significant given his initial isolation. His sensitivity to their struggles and his willingness to support them underscore his capacity for deep emotional connections. Yuta often reflects on his identity and purpose beyond being a vessel for Rika's curse. These moments of introspection reveal his vulnerabilities as he contemplates his worth and desires beyond the battlefield. Yuta's internal monologues and doubts about his ability to protect those he cares about and to control his powers offer a glimpse into his psyche. His vulnerability in these moments makes him relatable as he navigates human fears despite this supernatural context of his life. Now, modern psychology offers valuable insights into the traits of sensitivity and vulnerability, recognizing them not as weaknesses, but as aspects of emotional depth and resilience. These traits are linked to a range of psychological theories and research findings that highlight their importance in personal growth, relationships, and mental health. Quest for redemption. Yes, Rika was responsible for this too. How much simpler his life would have been without her. Remember, boys, stay focused. These girls will leave you in the depths of hell. Anyway, recognizing the potential for harm his unchecked powers held, Yuta dedicated himself to rigorous training under Gojo-sensei. His commitment to gaining control over his abilities and understanding the nature of curses reflected his desire to prevent further harm and use his powers for the greater good. This period of growth signified Yuta's active steps toward redemption by ensuring he no longer feels powerless or a threat to those around him. Moreover, as can be seen in the movie Zero, Yuta's confrontations with various curses and antagonistic sorcerers serves as milestones in his quest. Each battle is an opportunity for Yuta to test his resolve, refine his control over his powers, and protect others. His decisive action against Suguru Geto, motivated by the desire to protect his friends and innocents, highlighted his willingness to face the consequences of his powers head-on and make amends for past inactions. Modern psychology views guilt as a powerful motivator for behavioral change and personal growth. When individuals feel guilty about past actions, it can drive them to seek redemption through positive actions, attempting to make right what they believe was wrong. This quest for redemption often involves acts of self-improvement and efforts to reconcile with those affected. As Yuta grew stronger and more confident, he evolved into a protector, not just of individuals, but of the broader sense of peace and balance within the Jujutsu world. His journey really showed us how he's turned things around by using all those lessons from his past to be a better version of himself. Alright everyone, that wraps up our deep dive into Yuta Okkotsu. And if you found his journey as fascinating and inspiring as I did, smash that like button, stay tuned and subscribe for more amazing content where we explore the depths of your favorite characters and their worlds. Until next time, peace!